Morning, Peter. Welcome back to Eloise High School. How are we this morning?
Great to be back. Spotted so many people with a uniform on which looks in pristine condition, which is totally the opposite of how my blazer looked when I was at this school. I was a prefect actually, but the blazer looked as if I'd been in a fight. But everybody here looks absolutely magnificent.
So, firstly, what were your first impressions of the school when you first walked through the doors?
Well, there was a lot of pupils. It covered a huge area. There was a real eclectic mix of people, all great. It was down at the old building. You used to have the first 2 years you would go to Airbos, and then after that, this building was not long open, so we would then come up here for third year.
Right.
There is a bit of fear because you are out of your comfort zone of all your classmates from primary. But there were so many people from Muir Hill, it was unbelievable. It was such a huge catchment area. The school was daunting because it was like an old Victorian style. It was like sandstone brick, and in the corridors, it was like going back to a different world completely. It was like an old movie called Goodbye Mr. Chips. It was like that style of place, but teachers, magnificent, excitement, fun. The only thing that I have is really good memories of it because I don't know if it's a little bit geeky, but I loved school. I loved my mates and I loved getting involved in them and I loved playing football. So I think if you embraced the extracurricular activities as well as obviously trying to put in the work, then it was a great place. By the way, there were some real nutcases. I mean, it was a great mix of people who you thought, I'm going to avoid that corner there and I'll meet, some good people from different places and meeting everybody. I loved the school. The school was huge. In the end, I think even when we moved up to this section, there was about 2,300 pupils. It was one of the biggest comprehensives in the United Kingdom. But it was a lot of fun.
It still is. Still the same as you say it is.
I think now when I'm lucky enough to come back, when we did the reunion, it was great fun because I saw so many people that I grew up with that were coming back. It was friendly. It was as if we'd left each other yesterday. Seeing so many faces, and of course the teachers. There's a few that I highlighted on the night just to people to remember them who weren't with us, and there were some people who still were looking in great condition who had taught myself in registration. Mr. Lunny, Mr. Carlin taught me in history. So there were great memories, and to come back to the school, it was really funny because I hoard things. I'm a hoarder, so I had my bus pass. I had all the exam papers. I still have my tie, still have my school jacket. And when I was younger, I had a camera, which was a top of the range camera. I'd saved up. I had 3 jobs, and as a paper boy, various other jobs that I had. I used to DJ for the teachers in here, and I had a camera, and I took photographs of all my friends and other people who'd come into the common room. And I kept all those photographs, and all my mates used to hammer me and say, I can't believe you, all you do is take photographs. But 30 years later, when I had all the photographs, they were all emailing me going, this is the best thing ever. I can't believe these photographs. So it was nostalgic. It was great. When I came in, the headmistress, Louisa, very kindly let me fly a drone up above, right around the whole building, and then in through all the classrooms. So I was able to take everybody on a trip down memory lane.
That's very good, yes. You said many times that your favourite teacher was Mr. White.
Yes.
What was it about him that was so special to you?
He was a people person. He didn't need to give the belt. I mean, I cannot remember him giving the belt, but he had an aura about him. There was a lot of people scared of him because if you were in late, he was like Batman. It was like Dark Knight Rises. He just suddenly came in with his black cape and he appeared and he had this booming voice, and he was kind. He was funny. If you were a problem pupil, he didn't deal with you in the going through a protocol of you're going to get the belt or you're going to get detention or something like that. He tried to reason with people, tried to chat to them as if they were, adults. He never treated them. He didn't speak to anybody in a condescending manner. I mean, some of the boys were sharing the stories, and we laughed heartily when somebody would come in who was mad, somebody who would always be in fights, cause mayhem. And the two of them would come in late. Two guys come in late, and Mr. White came up and he went, "You're late. You're over half an hour late." And he said, "What were you doing at the weekend?" And they went, "We're not sure, sir." He said, "Did you see Celtic?" And he says, "Yeah, we were at Celtic Park." He says, "Okay, forget about detention. On you go. As long as you go and see the Celtic." He had just the most outrageous things that he would deal with. And when we were in his class, he was fantastic. He used to say, right before we start, he says, with George Orwell, 1984. I mean, I don't know if you've ever read that book. It is grim. In fact, we're now living it now, the way the world's going. But he would say, right before we start, everybody, Peter, tell us how Tommy Burns played for Celtic on Saturday. And I had to tell everybody about the game. So he was full of fun, mischievous, but he had a brilliant manner, and he knew how to deal with people at every level. And he was well educated, to the point where he would say to you, any man or woman who swears suffers from a lack of vocabulary. I used to keep that in my head and was like, I'd think of Mr. White if I said a bad word,
Yeah.
And he used to say, Scottish people suffer from a glocal stop. Do you know what that is?
Not sure. No.
A glocal stop is when people from the west of Scotland especially don't pronounce their T's. So that's better, butter. So that was a bugbear of his. So he always wanted you to pronounce the words correctly. But there was things that stayed with you, values, morals, and about maybe funniest story ever was I started to train. I ran a lot of half marathons, ran a lot of marathons, cost me a hip. But when I was training for the New York Marathon, this was about 2005, I was running down Bells Hill. And this man's walking past me, and he just looked and he went, "Pedro, you don't look as if you're fit, son." And I just looked round, and there was Mr. White. And, I'd been on television and things like that. So he'd watched all the programmes, very proud of me, which was great. And then we reconnected. He shared photographs that he had of the school and all the teachers. And then I organised a reunion in the tavern in Motherwell. And about 20 of us all got together with him, Mr. Lunny, Jake Carlin, and Peter McAtamney, who was a teacher here. And what a laugh we had. And we got photographs with him, and it was the best time ever. And I went to his funeral when he passed away. He used to live next to where Bells Hill Maternity. Everybody in this area was born in Bells Hill Maternity. It was a big hospital down in Bells Hill, and he lived just across the road from it. And I went to his funeral, and it was kind of it was one of those sad moments which when everybody was talking about him, all we did was smile. And I think if you can look back on any teacher who has an impact on you, who teaches you values, who teaches you life lessons that you maybe won't find in the book, that is worth its weight in gold. And that's why he's my absolute, top favourite teacher of all time.
Fair enough. You mentioned Mr. Lonnie there. Is there any other teachers or subjects that stand out to you as someone who you remember fondly?
Yeah, Mr. Friel and Mr. Knighton were the two, and Mr. Reynolds. Brian Reynolds' son, Mark Reynolds, ended up playing for Aberdeen. So all three of them, I played football for the school team, and also Mr. Knighton got me coaching lessons because I love table tennis. So he got me involved in the Scotland table tennis coach. And we, really, it was a brilliant education and playing at another level of table tennis. So those teachers, the PE teachers, were great because they invested their time in you. Again, the ladies was great because the teachers didn't speak to you as if you were a kid. You got a chance to get involved with them. Jimmy Friel was fantastic because he would talk to you about the position, what you're doing, what you needed to learn at playing football. So they were great. And I mentioned Jake Carlin. The reason I mentioned that is I did a crash course history. Just take it, fire it into your qualifications. And Jake used to come in with the worst ties of all time. I don't know if his wife bought them or somebody else, but he would come in with these absolutely hideous ties every day just to try and get people's attention. But he was a great teacher. And yeah, there were so many really, really good teachers who taught you things, values, and persevered with you because they wanted you to do well. One that stuck in my head, and maybe for the right or wrong reasons, I don't know. Brian O'Donnell was a modern studies teacher, and I love modern studies. And he said something to me at the time that stuck with me in my head, which was basically, we were in the middle of Margaret Thatcher's Britain. Margaret Thatcher is despised in this area. She absolutely killed it. Took 40 years. Have we ever recovered from her annihilating the steel industry here? I don't think so. And he just basically said, listen, you've got to load the bases. You've got to make sure you've got so many things going for you, whether it be qualifications, life skills. He said, because it's going to be doubly difficult for you. And I never forget, he said to me, it's going to be doubly difficult. One, we're in an era where it's, I'm all right, Jack. It's, the wealthy, a class system. The working class people are being victimized by the government. And he said, and you're also a Catholic. And I looked at him, and I'll never forget it. And he said, you're a Roman Catholic.